Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, guys, as you probably noticed, my new obsession this year is how we seem to be living in a golden era of scams, crypto, MLMs, scam influencers, scam members of Congress. Truly feels like today the con man or con woman is king. But it's not just listless young men or dumb rich people or desperate housewives who are being scammed routinely. No. The highest echelons of society, they are falling victim to the same charlatans and predations as everyone else. The latest mark here, Wall Street titan JPMorgan Chase. They have now admitted they got scammed by a fraud business to the tune of $175 million. Now, before I get to all of the details here, and you are going to love some of the details here, let's just set the table. One thing that is core to a successful con is getting the story right. Figuring out what it is that your mark wants to hear. What are their vulnerabilities, their wants, their fears, their desires? And like other successful con artists, the young woman at the heart of this Chase scam knew exactly the part to play and the song to sing to successfully defraud people who are supposed to be among the most sophisticated investors in the entire world. So here is what happened. It all started with a big announcement. JPMorgan Chase, led by famed CEO Jamie Dimon, they issued a big press release crowing that they were buying a company called Frank, which supposedly made it easier for college students to apply for financial assistance. Here's how CNBC framed that news.
Jamie Dimon declared last year he planned to get more aggressive in seeking takeovers, and he certainly made good on that promise with JPMorgan buying another financial startup. This time it's college financial planning platform, Frank. CNBC.com's Hugh Sun has the exclusive details on the story, and he joins us now. Hugh, why this deal?
Hey, it's good to be with you, Kelly. So, the short answer is what they're getting is a software platform that's been pretty effective at serving, people, young people who are heading to college and need to try to pay for it. So it's got a bunch of tools. The biggest, I think the main tool is an automated service that helps students apply for federal aid. It's got 5 million users. And, JPMorgan wants to get in on that. They want to basically have an affinity program, essentially, that as you're thinking about attending college, you've got to chase, if all goes according to plan, you've got to chase bank account. And after that, if you graduate, perhaps you're going to add a credit card, mortgage, and auto. So this is their play to sort of get people hooked into the Chase ecosystem at an early age.
So Frank, this company, specifically claimed to JPMorgan that they had more than 4 million customers who were already using their tools to apply for financial aid. And as the CNBC analyst coldly observes, this represented an enticing opportunity for Chase to be able to get these young people hooked on their debt products early. Sure, starts with a streamlined aid process, but before you know it, you've got these 18-year-olds into credit cards and many other services. Wonderful new way for Chase to profit off of the college affordability crisis while also hooking young people into a whole lifetime of high interest indebtedness. The business prospect of getting their hooks into these young people early through a seemingly charitable service was absolutely irresistible. And the young founder of Frank herself, Charlie Javis, like Elizabeth Theranos and Sam Bankman-Fried before her, she had exactly the right personal narrative to sell to elites. As the New York Times put it quite well, I thought, Ms. Javis's story is an archetypal tale of late-stage startup hustle culture, a teenage prodigy turned Ivy League social enterprise maven, and shape-shifting savior of higher education. Or so she would have the world believe. Let's get a sense of our protagonist here, alleged con woman extraordinaire. Here is Charlie Javis on some show that's sponsored by American Express, answering a question about what she's had to overcome as a female entrepreneur.
You might hear it from other female entrepreneurs who are trying to pitch like tampon companies or like underwear, who knows, but male investors just don't know about that whole segment of the market. Now try and take a segment of the market where investors who are usually wealthy, have inherited it or made their money, have zero exposure to FAFSA or the financial aid process. And so it's almost like take odds where you might have 15-20% female investors, now flip it to people where literally maybe one person out of the hundreds I've spoken to has had personal exposure with it. And that's the largest roadblock.
In selling Frank, Javis spun elaborate tales of the pain that she had personally suffered in trying to afford college. She recounted difficult stories of her mother weeping as she tried to sort through the complicated financial aid process, months of agony as they waited to get answers. In her telling, Javis started Frank to keep other struggling students from dealing with the excruciating ordeal her own family had supposedly been put through. Of course, turned out, both her parents had master's degrees. Her dad literally worked on Wall Street for Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch for decades. Hard to imagine Javis was quite as financially strapped and struggling with complex financial bureaucracy as her corporate origin story would have you believe. But no one in the female empowerment press or business journalist world looked into any of these inconsistencies, so Javis started appearing in all the important lists of up-and-coming entrepreneurs. She made Forbes 30 under 30. She made Crain's 40 under 40. She got this weird quote in the 40 under 40, by the way, in this write-up where she says that since women disproportionately hold student loan debt, Frank is, quote, not as masculine around money, whatever that means. Time went on, academics and even government agencies in the student loan space started growing suspicious of the many claims made by Frank about their services, their customer base, and their purported college partners. But JPMorgan Chase apparently didn't talk to any of them. So when presented this seemingly perfect package of 4 million plus receptive young Frank customers that they could market their products to, and a fresh-faced founder named on all the right lists, they jumped right in with that $175 million offer. There was just one little problem. Those 4 million plus established customers that Frank claimed that they had, they were fake. All but a few 100,000 of them were invented out of whole cloth in order to get through the JPMorgan Chase vetting process. I'm talking fake names, fake birthdays, high schools, everything. As Chase put it in their legal filing against Javis, quote, in reality, Frank was nearly 4 million short of its representations to JPMorgan Chase. You see, after her initial pitch to Chase, claiming she had 4 million plus customers, she had to actually put together a fake list in order to pass that vetting process. So to accomplish this, she took a couple of different approaches. First off, she hired a data scientist to generate a, quote, synthetic list, just totally fabricated data is what that means. That was enough to get her through that deal diligence and get the deal closed. But then Javis had another problem. Chase obviously wanted to market to those 4 million customers, and they're going to need to send some actual real email addresses solicitations. So to solve that issue, Javis purchased a list of real college students and their email addresses, hoping that these acquired addresses would be enough to continue tricking JPMorgan Chase. Red flags started to pop up with this list, though, almost immediately. First of all, this is kind of a funny detail. A Chase engineer noticed that the number of lines in one of the files that they received from Frank suspiciously matched precisely the maximum number of rows that you're allowed in an Excel spreadsheet. The whole cover story was completely blown, though, when emails went out to a subset of this new purchased list. More than 70% of Chase's marketing emails to this supposed Frank customer list bounced back as undeliverable. Of the emails that did go through, almost no one opened the email or clicked on any link contained therein. That's the sort of result that you might expect from a purchase list of random college students, which is in truth what this list actually was. Definitely not the result they expected from a cultivated list of students that had supposedly affirmatively signed up with interest in the products and services that Frank and Chase were then offering. After the marketing campaign test run crashed and burned, whole plot was uncovered quite easily. Hilariously, all of Javis's scheming about how to generate these fake names and make it look real, that was all done on Frank email accounts. And once JPMorgan Chase acquired Frank, they also acquired those email accounts and could just go back through the email traffic that documented every step of the fraud. In the merger, all told, Charlie Javis pocketed about $30 million in proceeds and also secured a $20 million retention bonus. JPMorgan Chase is, of course, trying to claw all of their money back. And I should add here for the lawyers, Ms. Javis, of course, denies any wrongdoing and is, in fact, countersuing JPMorgan Chase. So what is the big takeaway here? Number one, know yourself and your vulnerabilities, know what stories you would be susceptible to, and don't be an easy mark, because I truly do believe we're living in a moment that is awash in audacious schemes and audacious fraud. And if JPMorgan Chase can be tricked, you can be too. Number two, it's humiliating that one of the world's most sophisticated financial institutions could be duped by such a brazen scam. Remember, all of the supposedly brilliant minds and elite investors and famous business journalists who were fooled by Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos and Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX. These people are not half as smart or all-knowing as they think that they are. Finally, in these successful cons, we can see the outlines of the failures that exist in our society. And that honestly is the part that fascinates me the most. With this story, we catch a glimpse of a criminal higher education system that inflicts deep financial pain on millions to the profit of a few. We see greedy banks licking their lips at the chance to market a lifetime of debt to these young people. We see bio and identity weaponized to gloss over failed products and fake claims. We see how little due diligence any of our higher institutions of media and finance are actually doing, at least when it comes to people who have been vouched for by other elites. If we are in a golden age of con artists, it's because we are in a dark age of societal failures that have left almost everyone vulnerable. And this was a humiliating experience for change. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Soccer and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.